Sam. I'm an avian care specialist here at the Alaska Raptor Center. I'm joining you on this wonderful Earth Day to talk a little more about the work that we do here, and to talk a little bit about the role that people play in their ecosystems. Now, I kind of want to talk about the Alaska Raptor Center. If this is your first time joining us, we are a 501c3 nonprofit located in Sitka, Alaska. We specialize in the rehabilitation, research, and education of wild raptors in our beautiful state. And we try to reach as many people across the country in order to tell them all about the amazing birds that we get to work with every day. Now, we specialize in bald eagles, but we also have a variety of hawks, owls, falcons, and we will even rehabilitate songbirds, waterfowl, chickens, you name it. We're here to help anything that's a bird. Now, that being said too, we are a nonprofit, and so we rely very heavily on the support of people just like you. I want to let you know that 100% of donations go towards the care of all the birds at our center. And we even have a wonderful program that's called Adopt a Bird, where you can actually choose one of our education birds to fully sponsor. We have about 12 education birds here, so the amount of options to choose from is indeed limitless. But today, on this beautiful Earth Day, I want to talk a little more about ecosystems. What is an ecosystem? What are the dynamics of an ecosystem? And what role do humans play in the ecosystems that are around us? Now, I keep saying that word a lot, right? Ecosystem. What is an ecosystem? Well, at its most basic definition, an ecosystem is a community of living things and non-living things that are interacting with each other. So, the room that you're in is an ecosystem. The back deck of our eagle habitat at the center is an ecosystem. An ecosystem can be as small as the eyelashes that are on your face, or it can be as big as the entire universe in and of itself. Now, I don't have time to talk about the entire universe, but instead I would like to explore a little bit about some dynamics and themes that we see in every single ecosystem that we might have the potential to explore. So today we're going to look at what happens to an ecosystem when something is removed. We're going to look at what happens when something is introduced. And I want to come back to the idea that humans can always have an impact on our ecosystem. So we need to be thinking about ways we can make a positive impact on our ecosystem. So we're kind of going to give everyone a few more minutes to join in with us. While we do our program though, there are going to be some opportunities that you guys can actually interact with us. So have those keyboards on hand and I'll let you know when you can join in. So, we're going to look at our first ecosystem dynamic. We're going to see what happens when something is removed from its local ecosystem. So I have set up for us a little activity that I used to do with my students. This is called eco mapping. It is a great way to look at all the different connections within an ecosystem. And for all my fellow educators out there, this is a great activity to do with your students. And you can literally do it with any animal. I used to always just pick a student and say, hey, what's your favorite animal? We put that at the center of the board, and then we build everything outwards from there. Being at Alaska Raptor Center, I decided that the animal we're going to have in the center is, of course, our American bald eagle. So, now we have to build the ecosystem around our eagle. So what I want you guys to do, take your keyboards. I have my wonderful social media director, Richard, here, who are going to read your comments. I want you guys to post other things that might be in this bald eagle's ecosystem. So think about living things that it's interacting with. Think about non-living things that it's interacting with. Let's go ahead and let's build up this board.
We got trees and fish.
Ooh, I like it. I'm gonna go over to the other side because I just realized I'm right-handed and I'm gonna make this easier on myself. Okay, here we go. I got trees. Love it. You got fish.
Rivers.
Love it. Ooh. River, water, right? All living things need water.
Someone wrote carry on.
Ah, the good stuff. Absolutely. Once upon a time living, not so much anymore, huh? All right.
Rats and rabbits.
I hope I spelled that right.
Vehicles and boats.
I love that. Put some rabbits in here. I got cars, boats. All right, looking good.
Someone wrote in your area lichens.
Indeed, yes. I love it.
Buildings.
Ooh, I like it.
Power lines.
All right, let's maybe do 2 more.
Sunshine.
Ah, the sun. Look at that right at the top. Ah.
Eggs.
Ooh. Good one. Yeah? Can you tell what we're doing, Volta? Alright, cool. We'll do that next then. So we have all these things here that are interacting with our bald eagle. Zoom, 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 zoom. However, there are lots of things around here that don't just interact with the bald eagle. There's lots of things around here that interact with each other as well. So maybe our rabbits are interacting with the lichen. The rats are interacting with the lichen. The water is interacting with the trees. The sun. Other living things. See here, the water's interacting with our boats. Fish are at the boats. Maybe we have some trees around our building. We have some power lines there too. The carrion need water. The carrion needs sun. Maybe there are rabbits interacting. There are rats that we don't know about that might be hanging out around our cars. Oh, I hope not. Fun, huh? So maybe there's some lichen on the trees too. Maybe there's some eggs in the trees. Not much what I'm saying, huh? Our trees also need sunlight. This is getting really busy really quick, huh? It's really easy to see how everything around here interacts with each other. So this is where the activity really gets interesting. And this is a great opportunity to really get your students thinking about ecosystem changes and dynamics. Because around the 1960s, 1970s, there was a popular pesticide used in America called DDT. And unfortunately, when this pesticide was ingested by bald eagles, it would actually thin out the lining of their eggs. And when the females went to incubate to keep their eggs warm, the shells would break. So you had a huge decline in bald eagles throughout the 70s, 60s, 70s area. And there were definitely ecosystems that didn't have bald eagles at all. So now that we have removed this species, things are gonna happen, right? If the bald eagles aren't there, maybe we'll see an increase in the prey that they used to eat. Maybe we'll see an increase in the dead stuff that they used to eat. Maybe as more bacteria are added to the ecosystem, that might affect some of the mosses, some of the fungi. Maybe that could be transported to the trees. Maybe eventually it would end up in the other prey species, right? Maybe as we lose fish, our water quality would go down. Maybe as we increase in fish, our water quality would go down. At that point, it's not fun to be on the water anymore. So we would see less boat activity. There are less eggs around. the ecosystem is no longer really livable, so we probably won't see much human development in the area, which means that your economy might be influenced as well. Just everything falls apart. The whole balance of the ecosystem is gone, and all that we did was remove one species. So these bald eagles have a huge role in maintaining the role of other animals in their ecosystem. Now, luckily, in 1973, the Endangered Species Act was passed, and they banned DDT. So we were able to see a huge comeback for bald eagles. We went from about 500 nesting pairs to over 100,000 nesting pairs all throughout the country. This is truly a comeback story for these amazing species. So, with that being said, I would love to introduce you to some of the bald eagles that we have here at our center. And we'll start with Volta. He's kind of a patriarchy, a legacy bird. So I'm more than happy to tell his story.
Give me just a second to rearrange the hard to see.
Yeah. He was working on a nest this morning. He might be searching for some more sticks. There's some good sticks under our deck, actually. Here he comes. Alright, so this is Volta. He's actually the oldest bird that we have at the center right now. Volta came to the center as a rehab bird back in 1980. He was initially treated for a car strike that ended up injuring his wing. He has a shoulder injury on his right side that left him unable to fly. And so because he survived his initial injury, but that injury wouldn't allow him to be successful in the wild, Volta became what is called an ambassador bird, an education animal. And essentially we were able to train Volta in order to do education programs. And for 30 years, he would come out, he would meet visitors from all over the world, and he would inform them all about the amazing role that bald eagles play in our ecosystem. Roles like pest control, roles like disease control, being able to clean up an ecosystem, eating that carrion, and if he were to eat some of those bacteria, it wouldn't affect him the similar way that it would affect us. And so bald eagles play an amazing role here in our ecosystem, and Volta has done such an incredible job at helping share our mission. We actually decided, as he got a little bit older in life, he had done such an amazing job that once we had this beautiful back habitat built, we decided to retire Volta, and he can now live out the rest of his days in this beautiful wild habitat. So with that, guys, look at Volta, and then we're going to transition here. We've looked at what it takes when a species is removed from the ecosystem. So I'm actually going to introduce you to another animal to introduce the idea of a species being introduced. Now this next animal, she doesn't live at Teton Raptor Center, mostly because she's not a bird. But she is a great species to still learn from, because just like raptors, these animals play a great role with pest control, disease control, and scavenging. So I'm going to have Sophie and Shazi join me here on camera.
Hello.
Sophie is another avian care specialist here at our Raptor Center, but beforehand she actually did a lot of rehabilitation in Colorado, correct?
Yep, that's right.
Indeed. So she actually has experience working with species like Shazi. Shazi is a 2-year-old African ball python. So this is a species that's actually fairly common in Africa. But that being said, they are the smallest python species in Africa. Shazi is still rather young. They could easily live upwards of 30 years. So by the time Shazi has reached about 5 years of age, she'll go from her 2.5 foot length that she's at now, all the way up to 5.5 feet. Females have even been known to get up to 6 feet long in human care. It's just a matter of proper nutrients, proper enclosures. These animals, their life expectancy can drastically improve when they're in the care of humans. It can also drastically improve when they're in the right environment as well. Of course, Shazi here, she's very used to warm savanna areas of Africa. So what is she doing in Alaska, right? This is typically not an animal that you're going to find on the southeast coast. But she has found her way here, very similar to how a lot of animals have been introduced to new ecosystems. She's a pet. She is someone's pet that they were able to bring with them when they moved to Alaska. And we definitely make sure that she is kept in a safe environment. We make sure that she gets proper food so she isn't motivated to leave her enclosure and be introduced to the ecosystem. Because definitely an animal that is native to Africa, she would not do very well here in Alaska. So we're going to go ahead. This is a nice warm hot water bottle, but I'm pretty sure she would enjoy her toasty travel box as well. So we'll say bye to Shazi. Thank you so much, Sophie.
Hi, everybody.
Now, obviously, Shazi wouldn't do so well here in Alaska, but they have been able to find that pet ball pythons do extremely well in warm, temperate environments, such as Florida, Georgia, kind of the closer you get to the equator, where it's nice, warm, humid. Pet snakes can thrive. And ball pythons aren't the only pets that have found themselves in the Florida ecosystem. Number one species that you find in Florida that is not native is the reticulated python. One of the biggest snakes in the world. They actually rival anacondas. They can get over 20 feet long, and they are actually currently pushing our American alligators into extinction. So, as many of you have probably been able to deduce, our next ecosystem theme is invasive species. And so, not only can snakes become invasive species, we actually have some invasive species here in Alaska as well that are birds. A lot of birds that we have in Alaska are things like starlings, which are native to Europe. We have songbirds that, even though they're very common in the lower 48, they actually rival a lot of the native songbirds that here in Alaska, like the song sparrow. Should not be here in Alaska, and yet we have them due to decreasing habitat that they would naturally find in the lower 48. A similar situation has actually happened with barred owls, where they are losing their habitat on the eastern section of our country. They've gotten first pushed to the Rockies. Now they're very common along the west coast, and every once in a while we'll have one come all the way up to Alaska, simply because competition. They're trying to find more resources, and being a bird trying to survive, they'll slowly move around and try to find areas where they're going to be most successful. So why does this matter? Okay, so we have invasive species. They're losing their habitat. They're finding new ones. Hasn't that happened over the course of evolution once upon a time? Indeed it has. We're just seeing it go at such a fast pace that it tends to have a negative repercussion on local ecosystems. Let me see. Let me get my notes here real quick. I want to make sure that I am pronouncing this correctly. So, there's actually an organization, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. They're also known as the IUNC. Sorry, IUCN. Got some letters mixed up there. But they have been able to do some research over this past 50 years, and they found that of the 170 species that has gone extinct, invasive species contributed to about 91 of them, and it has been the primary factor in over 34 extinctions of native species. And so now it comes down to what is causing this. Yes, it's invasive species, but is there one animal that is causing this more than others? And they found that there is. And kind of like Shazi, this animal was introduced via their popularity as pets. And I have one at my house right now. I imagine many of you have one in your house right now. They are small, warm, fuzzy, and they say meow. The number one invasive species that we have found worldwide are cats. They've been able to cause the extinction of over 63 birds, reptiles, and mammals all throughout the world. And again, it's not a matter of cats are mean, they're trying to do this, they're trying to destroy species. They're just being cats. They're doing what they naturally do. They don't understand that they're in a new environment, and there's just plenty of resources that allow them to be so successful. So we've talked about what happens when an animal is removed. We talked about some of the things that can happen if an animal is introduced. And I realize it's been a little bit doom and gloom throughout this live stream. But one thing that we can definitely kind of focus on is that humans have a huge impact on their ecosystem, and we can do positive things for the environments that are all around us. So if you do happen to have a cat and they like going outside, a huge thing that can benefit is going outside with them. Even if they're not harness trained, even if they're just going around the neighborhood, going outside and getting some nice fresh air, it allows you to stay healthy, it allows your pets to stay safe and healthy, and it allows all of the species around them to stay nice and healthy as well. Of course, even if you don't have pets, something as simple as taking a walk and picking up a piece of trash, or picking up 10 pieces of trash. Maybe you find a water bottle, and that material can also be recycled as well. Or say you need to go to the grocery store, being able to use a reusable or a canvas bag versus a plastic bag, or even a paper bag that can later be recycled is a great way to have a positive impact on your ecosystem. Small differences, small actions, small choices can make a huge difference. So this Earth Day, I implore you to make a positive impact on your ecosystem and know that every choice matters. So again, we are a nonprofit dedicated to the rehabilitation of wild birds, but there are thousands of nonprofits across the country that help a wide variety of different animals. So if nature is something that intrigues you, I implore you to go out, check out your local organizations, help out, and understand that we can always have a positive impact on our ecosystems. Alright, that's about all that I have planned for you guys today. Thank you again so much. If you haven't been able to check out Alaska Raptor Center, aka this is your first time joining us, we are actually very active on multiple social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. We try to post multiple times a week, so please go out, please follow us. And again, all of your support goes 100% to these birds. Thank you guys so much. I'll leave our comment section open so that if anyone has any additional questions, I'm here to help answer those. Thanks everyone.
And
Happy Earth Day.
Before we leave, I just want to give a big shout out to everyone who has donated to our fundraiser so far. It is really appreciated.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.